This is Jamie from the Village Market. We're calling that Bentley was chosen to be the winner of the rifle raffle that we had. Yes, absolutely. So he will win the 7mm 08, and what will happen is we will return it back to Old Town Trading Post, and then you folks can pick it up at Old Town Trading Post after Wednesday. But what we'd like to do is have him come down so that we can get a photo opportunity with him. Yeah, later today would be great. My wife and I are both here all day long. Okay, we'll see you in a bit, and congratulations. All right, bye-bye. When we were thinking about what we were going to do within the Village Market, when we were making our business plan to do the Village Market, like the youth giveaway for the rifle, we had talked about that and planned that before we decided what type of pizza we were going to make. That
Before we even planned our menu.
Right. That was one of the things that was important to me, was to be able to give away that youth rifle and have that feeling of seeing a little kid who was deserving and wanted that that rifle, to be able to receive one.
We're all about kids, I mean, he taught softball, I did Girl Scouts, I worked at the school for many years, and I just, we always just want to give back to the kids, and we want to teach them, take care of people and be kind to people, and it will come back, it will come back to you at some point in your life, whether it's a year, 10 years, you just be nice to people, and it just makes you feel good at the end of the day.
The little boy who won the rifle this year, he was a youth hunter last year, and he had shot a deer, as well as his older brother had shot a deer. They came in with their grandfather on Youth Day, and the older grandson had shot a nice doe, and the boy tugged on his jacket and said, "Grandpa, you going to help us get me a deer this afternoon?" He goes, "Well, sure, going to try." And later on that day, they came in, and with the second younger grandchild, he got him a deer. So the grandfather was just, so proud, tears in his eyes, saying, "I can die a happy man. Got both my grandchildren their first deer."
Yep.
And so that just happens to be the boy that won the rifle this year.
Yep.
And he used his brother's rifle last year, and now he's got his own. So, I mean, it worked out so good.
Yep.
The people that we know well was Phil Buck, owned it for about 30 years with his dad. He was running it, him and his dad, and they were doing fine. And then one day, a fellow named Jack Katz, who happens to be Panama Jack, he has the suntan lotion and the lawn equipment, lawn chairs and type stuff down in Florida. He came up with a fella from down around Bar Harbor, and they come up and offered him a certain amount for it, and he took the money, and these other folks bought the market, and it only ran for a few years and kind of went downhill, and it needed a bunch of renovations, so it was shut down for a few years, 7 years, I think. And in that time, it became a little dilapidated, but Mr. Katz did put a new roof on it and a few other things, a new basement in there, but it needed a lot more work than that, so we ended up negotiating with Mr. Katz, and we purchased it, and then we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and money into making sure we were getting it done right. And a lot of people were telling us that, "Geez, you guys sure are doing it right." We went from top to bottom and redid everything in there, and we wanted to have that old-fashioned country feel. We wanted people to be able to go in there and say, "Geez, I remember coming in here in 1979 when I was in the 8th grade getting candy." And we really wanted to bring that nostalgia back from folks that, back in there when they were growing up. And that's why
They used to sell, way back in the day, they used to sell dungarees and boots. So like some of my friends that I have here in Carmel, their parents and their grandparents will come in now, and they remember coming in there and buying, boots for school and sneakers for school and the dungarees and what were the Carhartt jackets and things like that. So it's kind of neat to listen to their stories and the things that they remember of, back in the day, like when the post office was on the side and
there was things that we had to take out, like there was some steps that went up. One lady said the steps that go to nowhere, because there were steps up front of the building, but there was no door, and that was the old steps that went into the old post office. We jackhammered those out, and that's where our propane tank and cement slab is now. But on the inside, you could see grooves in the old wooden floor where the postmaster had stood for years and years, and her feet kind of grooved in the floor right where the counter was. And that was one thing we wanted to make sure that we didn't sand out, that we could have that there to talk about and tell kids. Some of the different reactions we had when we first opened, I remember some older folks coming through and some tears dripping right off the chin of one person, how we had, when they come in, they were hoping that it was still old and not real modern. You know, some of the stuff we did modernize, like all the LED lighting, all the wiring, but that's kind of behind the scenes stuff. So we wanted to keep an old feel to the store, and this particular lady come in, and it just had, I think it sparked some memories in her brain, so she just, tears kind
She
of drummed
stood
down
at
her
the door
face
and
with a big
cried.
smile.
Actually, we've had a lot of people walk in. We had one older gentleman came in, and I was checking a customer at the register, and he came in, he turned and shut the door, and when he turned back, he had tears streaming down his face, and I was like, "Are you okay, sir?" And he said, "I just gotta stand here for a minute and take this all in." He said, "My grandfather was one of the original boys that hand dug this basement." He said, "with horse and bucket." And so I hollered to Jamie, and Jamie came out and got him and took him down in the basement and showed him all the basement, that how it's all redone, new concrete. And so he really, it took him back there for a few minutes, and he just was, absorbing it all. He said, "This is great that you guys have, brought this place back to life." And I hated to see it, get dilapidated, and we always prayed that it wouldn't, get torn down. Yeah, it definitely does mean a lot to the people in the community. They always tell us how proud they are of us bringing this building back to life, and a big corporation didn't come in and tear it down and put like an Irving station in here or something. We're trying to keep that old country, feel to the community here in the village.
And not just the physical feel of the building, the when
hospitality.
the hospitality, when
Yeah.
you come through our door, all of our employees and us, I mean, nobody ever comes through that door without getting met by a hello, a good morning, good evening, goodbye, all that stuff. We make sure the eye
Old-fashioned
contact.
hospitality, take care of your people, and
Yeah.
treat them like you want to be treated.
We really, really appreciate how much the community has come forward for us. We have our regular customers now who come in every single day, and some of our stuff, due to us not being able to buy in such volume, is maybe more expensive than some other places. Yet they still feel compelled to come and support us, and we recognize that and really appreciate that. We're trying well to do good with all the products that we have, to make them so that they're a fair price and a good product. But we really appreciate the support that CARMEL's given us, because it's been overwhelming.
It's been very overwhelming.
Yeah, and one thing I got to mention is that our pizza has a buttery, flaky crust.